Welcome back to Investing Talk podcast. We're going to be focusing on Cipher mining today.
Okay.
You sent us a bunch of information about
Yeah.
the company overview, how the stock's been doing, their financial health, strengths and weaknesses that people have seen, recent news, even some technical analysis. So our goal is to kind of like go through all this and figure out what you really need to know about this company.
So basically, based on everything you sent over, we'll look at how Cipher Mining's core business works. We can see what the stock is doing, look at how financially healthy they are, look for opportunities and challenges they might be facing, and then we'll see what recent events could mean for them going forward. And maybe we'll even touch on some technical indicators just to get a clearer picture.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. Like, what does Cipher mining actually do?
At their core, they're all about these huge data centers. They build and run them, and get this, they're used for both Bitcoin mining and high-performance computing, what they call HPC. And what I think is really interesting is that they're trying to use the combined expertise of their team, which comes from all these different areas like tech, fintech, energy, and finance, to make both of these fields work together.
So it's not just about Bitcoin. They're in the high-powered computing world as well.
Exactly.
That's pretty interesting. You mentioned something called their operational hash rate.
Right.
What is that, and what should people take away from that number?
So their hash rate right now is 13.5 EHs.
Okay.
Now, to really grasp what that means, you got to understand that 1 exahash, EH, is basically a mind-boggling amount of computing power. We're talking 1 quintillion calculations every single second.
Wow.
Yeah, so that 13.5 EH's number tells us they've got a massive amount of computing power dedicated to mining Bitcoin. And generally speaking, a higher hash rate means they have a better chance of actually mining Bitcoin successfully, earning them those rewards.
Oh, okay.
Basically, they're a big player with a lot of infrastructure all set up within the U.S.
Wow. Okay, that gives us a sense of, how big they are in Bitcoin mining.
Yeah.
But let's talk about that stock price. I get the feeling it doesn't stay put for very long.
You're absolutely right. Big price swings are pretty common for stocks in the crypto mining world, and Cipher Mining is no exception. Their beta of 2.48 really drives that point home.
A beta of 2.48. Can you explain what that means for someone who might not be familiar with that term?
Sure. So if you think about the overall market, a beta of 2.48 means Cipher Mining's stock price tends to move way more dramatically than the average stock. For example, if the market as a whole goes up by 1%, Cipher Mining stock might jump up by like 2.48%.
Gotcha.
It's almost like it amplifies what's happening in the market.
Yeah.
And that really reflects how volatile Bitcoin prices can be because they're influenced by so many things, regulations, new tech in the crypto world, even just how people are feeling about crypto at any given time.
Right.
So Cipher Mining stock isn't just reacting to general market trends. It's really magnifying those sometimes huge swings we see in the crypto world.
Okay, that explains why it might feel like such a roller coaster ride.
For sure.
You mentioned the current price is $2.92.
Right.
Down a little bit from the day before.
Yeah.
But if you look at the past year, what does its trading range tell us?
Well, over the past 52 weeks, we've seen it go as high as $7.99 and as low as $2.65. That's a huge difference, which
Right.
really highlights that volatility we were just talking about. And the fact that the current price is kind of closer to that low end of the range, well, it could mean a few things, right? Maybe it's undervalued right now, or maybe there are some underlying concerns that investors are picking up on. We need to look at this alongside all the other information. We also saw a very high trading volume recently, over 13.7 million shares changing hands.
That's a lot. Why might that be happening?
That's a great question. High volume often happens when there's a big price change or some big news comes out.
Right.
In this case, we know that they've had a few recent operational updates and they've been attending some investor conferences. And those things could definitely be contributing to all the interest in trading activity.
Okay, so let's move on to their financial health.
Okay.
And the info you sent paints a bit of a challenging picture.
It does. And one of the biggest things that jumps out is their cash burn rate. It's really high. We're talking a negative free cash flow yield of Medica 34%.
Wow.
Basically, for every dollar they're making from their operations, they're spending an extra 34 cents.
Oof.
And that's not sustainable in the long run. It makes you wonder how long they can keep this up.
Yeah. What about their ability to meet their short-term obligations, like their liquidity?
Well, before they got a recent strategic investment, they had about $6 million in cash and around $32 million in debt.
Okay.
So even though their debt compared to their equity isn't crazy high, That low cash balance combined with that high cash burn rate is definitely something investors are watching closely.
Yeah, I can see why. What about profitability? The numbers there seem a little concerning too.
They do. Their gross profit margin is 18.58%, which is already lower than a lot of other companies in the same industry.
Okay.
But then you look at the net margin, and it's a massive negative 359.95%,
Oh.
which means that once they take all their expenses into account, they're losing a lot of money.
So if we were to sum it all up, the biggest red flags seem to be how fast they're burning through their cash and how unprofitable they are at the moment.
You hit the nail on the head. Those are definitely the most worrying things that came up in what you sent over. That unsustainable cash burn rate, it's a direct threat to their financial stability. And that super negative net margin shows that they're really struggling to make a profit right now.
But it's not all bad news.
Not at all.
There were some potential opportunities identified as well. Let's talk about what might work in their favor.
One big potential upside is that they're strategically moving into the AI and HPC sector. You think about it, that could give them a more stable revenue stream that could even grow faster than their Bitcoin mining business, which is always so up and down.
Right.
Demand for high-performance computing is only going to go up, so this could be a really smart move for them in the long run.
And the fact that they've managed to secure strategic investments, including one from a major player like SoftBank, that's got to be a good sign, right?
It absolutely is. Getting those investments, especially from companies like SoftBank, it's like a vote of confidence in their strategy to branch out and their potential, especially in the AI and HPC world. It means that some pretty serious investors see value in what they're doing and believe in their future.
Okay. Now let's talk about some recent events. You mentioned an operational update from February 2025 and their participation in some industry conferences.
Right.
How might those affect the company and the stock?
Well, events like those can definitely change how investors view the company, which in turn can affect stock price.
Right.
That operational update back in February, even though we don't have specifics, would have given the market a look into how efficient their mining operation is, how much they can handle, and any progress they've made in those HPC initiatives. And going to conferences like those Morgan Stanley ones, the tech and telecom one, and the energy and power one, it puts them in front of a lot of potential investors and partners.
Yeah.
They get to network and increase their visibility. And their fourth quarter and full year 2024 business update, that would give everyone a really good overview of how they're doing financially and how their strategy is playing out.
Okay.
But without knowing the specifics of those updates, it's hard to say exactly how the stock was impacted.
Yeah, that makes sense. The details really do matter. Okay, last thing. Let's talk about the technical analysis.
Sure.
The analysis you shared recommended a hold.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, considering the stock price has been dropping lately, and it's generally known for being so volatile, recommending a hold seems like the most sensible approach based on the technical analysis. It's like saying, let's wait and see what happens before making any big moves.
Okay.
The analysis would probably focus on tracking those key price levels, and especially those moving average crossover points, both short-term and long-term, because those crossovers can sometimes signal when the stock's trend is about to shift, which could be a sign to buy or sell.
And what about the RSI, the Relative Strength Index?
Oh yeah, the RSI. That's a really useful tool to see if a stock is overbought or oversold. If the RSI is below 30, it could mean the stock is oversold, which might be a good time to buy because it could be about to bounce back up.
Right.
But if it's above 70, it might mean the stock is overbought and a price drop might be coming. Now, we don't have the exact RSI number from the information you sent, but it's definitely something technical analysts would keep an eye on, along with the price movements and those moving averages.
So it seems like Cipher mining is at a really interesting point right now. They're in this fast-growing but super unpredictable sector, and they're making what seem like smart moves to diversify, but they're also dealing with some pretty big financial hurdles right now.
It is really interesting. You have this potential for a huge growth in their AI and HPC ventures, but they've also got to figure out how to manage their cash flow and start making a profit from their core Bitcoin mining operation. Right.
And that high trading volume we talked about earlier, it shows that the market is really trying to weigh all of this and figure out where the company is headed.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It feels like that move into AI and HPC is going to be the most important thing to watch in the long term. If they can pull that off successfully while also fixing their financial issues, they could be looking at a very different future.
Right.
But for now, those financial challenges are definitely front and center.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
And that hold recommendation from the technical analysis seems to reflect that. It's like a wait and see approach for the moment.
Yeah. So, to everyone listening, how do you balance the potential for future growth in a new field against what's happening financially right now and all the uncertainty in the crypto market when you're looking at a company like Cipher Mining? That's a great question. To wrap things up, Cipher Mining is a company with a lot going on. They're in a dynamic industry. They're making strategic moves, but they're also facing some serious financial challenges. All those investors buying and selling their stock. It shows that people are definitely paying attention to this company. Yeah. What stands out most to you from all this? What questions do you have now that you've heard all this information?
Right.
We encourage you to keep digging into Cipher Mining and any other companies that catch your eye. And if you enjoyed this discussion, please hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and leave a comment letting us know what other topics you'd like us to break down for you.